All right, so those stacks of congressional records you sent over?
Yeah.
Well, let's be real. They can be a bit dense, a bit of a slog to get through sometimes.
Sure, sure.
But they're also a gold mine, like a treasure map
Hmm?
to understanding what's really happening in Washington.
I like that, a treasure map.
Yeah. So today we're going on a deep dive, decoding these documents to get those insights that really matter, the stuff that affects us all.
Think of it this way. The Congressional Record, it's not just, a boring record of speeches and votes.
Right.
It's like, it's a window into the heart of how our laws get made, the forces that shape policy,
Yeah.
and then ultimately how all those decisions, they impact your life.
Exactly. And we'll be covering the major bills, the heated debates, the key votes, even get into, the personalities behind the policy.
Oh, always interesting.
So you come away with a sense of the trends that are shaping the country, the power dynamics, and maybe even some surprising moments of, bipartisanship. You never know.
Right. You never know.
So let's just jump right in.
Yeah, let's.
One of the biggest, most urgent issues facing Congress right now is the fentanyl crisis.
It's true.
This isn't just some statistic. It's a tragedy affecting communities across the country.
Absolutely.
And you can see that urgency reflected in the debate around H.R. 27, the HALT Fentanyl Act.
Yeah.
So to put that in simple terms for everyone, this bill aims to permanently classify fentanyl-related substances as Schedule IR drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where it gets interesting because the goal is to give law enforcement more tools to combat trafficking.
Right.
But the approach has definitely sparked a lot of debate.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have Representatives Guthrie and Allen who argue that, this is what we need to do.
Mm.
It's a necessary step to stem the flow of this incredibly deadly substance.
Yeah, Representative Allen, I think he said that illicit fentanyl poisonings are now the leading cause of death for adults, 18 to 49. That's a pretty scary thought.
That's huge.
And he even said that he believes under a Republican-led government, we could actually see an end to this crisis. But then on the other side, you have Representatives Poloni, Bonamici, and Norton who are pushing back.
Yeah.
They're arguing that just focusing on criminalization, it ignores this complex reality of addiction.
Right.
And they're calling for more investment in treatment and prevention programs.
It's such a dilemma, isn't it? Because you have that immediate need to stop the flow of fentanyl and save lives.
Of course.
But on the other hand, is this purely punitive approach, really? Is it the most effective in the long run?
Right. Is this the way to go? It raises the question of how to balance that urgent action with smart policy, policy that addresses the root causes.
Exactly. And that's not always easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
And it's not just, a partisan issue either.
Just thinking that.
Because we see this tension even within the parties. Representative Trahan, he's a Democrat. He proposed an amendment to delay the bill's implementation.
Oh, interesting.
Pending, further research on fentanyl-related substances.
So a more cautious approach.
Yeah. But the amendment, it ended up getting rejected. But it actually received votes from both Democrats and Republicans.
So there is some common ground there.
Yeah. Which tells us a few things, right? First, that there's this recognition that this issue is complex. A one-size-fits-all solution just might not be the best way to go.
And second,
it suggests, at least to me, that there's room for compromise.
Yeah.
And collaboration even on an issue that everyone's so passionate about. The bill did pass the House, so now we all have to watch what happens in the Senate.
Right.
Will they agree with the House, or will they come back with amendments, reflecting a different strategy? This is where it's so important to understand the legislative process.
It's always a process, that's for sure. But now let's maybe shift gears for a second to a figure who's been making, a lot of waves in the political landscape, Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just his technology that's making headlines, but also his influence on government, which is, growing.
Right.
And this is where we see those concerns about transparency and accountability really come to the forefront.
It's true. You're talking about his financial contributions to political campaigns, right?
Exactly.
Like the reported $277 million to Donald Trump and a bunch of Republican campaigns. That definitely raises eyebrows.
Yeah.
What does that kind of money mean for access, for influence? especially for someone who's not even an elected official.
It's a big question, isn't it? This level of financial involvement, I mean, it's unprecedented, really, from a private citizen. And it raises some serious questions.
Hmm.
Like, there are accusations that Musk has been given access to sensitive information.
Really?
Yeah. And he's even had a role in eliminating certain federal agencies.
Yeah. It's something we've never really seen before, and it's sparking this whole debate about, the role of private wealth in shaping public policy.
And then there's DOGE, this group of hackers supposedly working with Musk and the Trump administration. What is that about?
I know, it's a bit of a mystery, isn't it? The
Yeah.
details surrounding DOGE they're pretty murky,
Yeah.
and it fuels a lot of speculation and concern about their purpose, even their authority. Some are even arguing that it's dangerous, this blurring of lines between, private interests and government power.
Well, some in Congress aren't staying quiet about it.
Right.
Representatives Pocan, Kelly, and Bonamici have all expressed concerns about Musk's influence.
Hmm.
Representative Kelly even said that the silence from the other side is deafening. It seems like they're really worried that he's profiting from these government contracts at the same time as advocating for dismantling key agencies.
That's a big concern. It is.
Yeah.
But then you have folks like Representatives Tiffany and Roy who defend Musk's actions.
Yeah.
Say he's just helping to implement policies that are in line with what voters want.
Right.
They see it as, a positive force. Like,
Yeah.
he's bringing that private sector efficiency to government.
Yeah. Interesting how there are always these two very different interpretations of the same thing.
Right.
It's a clash of ideologies, but it also goes deeper than that, right? Touching on fundamental questions about power, accountability, even the future of democracy in this tech-driven world that we live in.
Absolutely. And, it's fascinating how this debate about one individual, it really highlights the broader tensions within our political system.
It's a microcosm.
Yeah. It's this struggle to define the role of wealth, of influence, of the individual versus the collective power.
And for you as a citizen trying to make sense of it all, it really it highlights the importance of, critical thinking,
Right.
questioning assumptions, and seeking out diverse perspectives, because it's easy to just, go with what you hear first or the loudest.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of long-standing debates, we can't overlook this perennial question.
Yeah.
Does the Department of Education even deserve to exist?
Oh, that's a good one.
This one always gets people riled up.
It does, and for good reason. It's really about fundamental beliefs about, the role of government, the balance of federal power versus state power, even the very purpose of education itself.
It's a big one. So let's break it down a little bit. On one side, you have Representatives Ross and Roy who are advocating for abolishing the department. Their argument is that the department is, it's bloated, it's inefficient, and it infringes on states' rights.
Right.
They believe that education should be handled, primarily at the local level.
Yeah, and that belief in limited government and local control, I mean, that has very deep roots in American political thought.
It does. But then, of course, you have the counter-argument.
Right, equally compelling.
Which is, Representatives Neguse, Presley, and Barragan are pushing back hard on that.
Yeah.
They're emphasizing the department's crucial role in providing, resources to schools, especially those in underserved communities.
Right.
And they also point to its role in enforcing civil rights protection.
Absolutely.
And addressing those educational disparities that can have, such long-lasting societal impacts.
Huge impacts.
Yeah.
Representative Presley's speech, I thought that was particularly powerful.
It was.
She traced the department's origins back to the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
Highlighting its role in combating segregation and ensuring equal access to education.
Yeah.
So for her, abolishing the department, it's not just about, bureaucratic efficiency. It's about protecting those fundamental rights.
Right.
And making sure that all students, no matter who they are or where they come from, have the opportunity to succeed.
So this seemingly dry policy debate actually opens up, a Pandora's box of issues.
Right.
Talking about equity, about access, about the role of the federal government.
Yeah.
And how we prepare future generations, for this rapidly changing world.
And it all goes back to that question, what kind of society do we want to build?
Right.
And what role should education play in getting us there?
And that's why, I mean, that's why understanding these debates is so important.
It really is.
It's not just about abstract policies. It's about the values we prioritize, the investments we make, and the future we're creating.
It's the big picture stuff.
It is.
And, all this talk about education and the future, it kind of brings us to another big issue, congressional spending.
Right, because these debates about, what we prioritize as a nation, they often come down to where we put our money.
It's true. It's that age-old question, how do we balance all these competing needs, especially when resources are limited?
Right.
And the Congressional Record, it really gives you a front row seat to that battle.
It does.
Like, take, for example, the Trump administration's decision to freeze federal funding.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some theoretical budget exercise. It had a real impact.
Immediate impact.
Yeah. I mean, it affected programs like Medicaid, Meals on Wheels, even opioid treatment centers.
And of course, that sparked a huge debate.
Of course.
With some representatives praising the move, saying, this is what we need to do to curb spending.
Right.
And others condemning it as just a heartless attack on vulnerable populations.
Yeah.
You had Representatives Berrigan and Norton. They were leading the charge against the freeze, calling it cruel, harmful, and even arguing that it overstepped the executive branch's authority. Like it was undermining the power of Congress to control the purse strings.
Right.
But then those who supported the freeze, Representatives Tiffany and Roy, they saw it as, a necessary correction to what they considered, out of control spending.
Right.
And saying, this is how we rein in the bureaucracy, we reduce the deficit.
It's interesting how this debate, it's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet, right?
No, it's not.
It forces us to really confront some fundamental questions about the role of government. Like, what are our responsibilities to those in need? What level of a social safety net do we want to provide?
Yeah.
And how do we prioritize spending in a way that reflects our values as a nation?
Big questions. And of course, the political maneuvering around these budget decisions, it can get pretty intense.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of back and forth. Each side trying to secure funding for their priorities while painting the other side as irresponsible or out of touch.
Right. It's a high stakes game for sure.
It is. And as you follow these debates, you start to see the patterns, the alliances, the trade-offs that shape the budget process. It's not always pretty, but it's definitely crucial to understanding how our government works or sometimes doesn't work in practice.
That's a good point. But, amidst all these policy clashes, it's important to remember that Congress isn't just about, abstract debates and political maneuvering.
Right.
It's also a place where human stories unfold, where individuals actually make a difference.
That's true. The Congressional Record often captures those moments of heroism, compassion, quiet dedication.
That remind us of the human side of government.
Yeah. Like Representative Dean Arp, who risks his own safety to rescue a woman from a burning mobile home.
That's amazing.
It is. It's a powerful example of how public service can extend beyond the halls of Congress.
Absolutely.
Into the lives of everyday people.
Yeah, and then you have those really poignant tributes to individuals who've served their communities, like Representative Jackson's. His words about retiring Capitol Police officers, they were so heartfelt.
They were.
It reminded us of the sacrifices they make
every day
to keep our democracy functioning.
Yeah. And Representative Connolly's recognition of Mark Pembleton, a Navy veteran who saved a family from a burning home. Yep. I mean, it just highlighted that courage and selflessness that you find in ordinary citizens.
It does. These stories, they remind us that even in the midst of all the partisan gridlock, there's still that shared sense of humanity.
Yeah.
And a desire to make a positive impact.
It's something that can get lost in the noise of political battles, but it's important to remember.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's a single speech that can elevate the discourse.
Yeah.
And challenge us to think about the bigger picture. Right, like Representative Khanna's address on the dangers of what he called an economic aristocracy.
Oh, that was a good one.
It was. He really wasn't pulling any
Yeah.
punches.
Yeah, well,
Drawing parallels to the Gilded Age, warning of this growing concentration of wealth and power in the hands of just a few.
yeah.
And he even went as far as to say that unless we take action, we risk undermining the very foundations of our democracy.
It was a powerful speech.
It was. You could feel the unease in the chamber as he spoke.
I bet.
It was like he was challenging his colleagues and on all of us really to consider whether we're truly living up to those ideals of equality and opportunity that are supposed to define America.
Yeah, it was a sobering reminder that the decisions made in Congress, they have these long-reaching consequences.
They do.
Shaping not just our present, but the future of our nation.
And it begs the question, are we on a path that leads to greater equality and opportunity for everyone?
Right.
Or are we slipping into this new era of economic division and social unrest? It's something to think about.
It is. Now, another topic that comes up frequently in the Congressional Record is immigration.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's an issue that's deeply intertwined with economics, national security, and of course, deeply held beliefs about what it means to be American.
It's true, and it's a topic that sparks a lot of passionate debate on both sides of the aisle.
For sure. And you see that reflected in the speeches of representatives who are advocating for stricter border control.
Yeah. They often argue that lax enforcement has led to this surge in illegal immigration, and that it's putting a strain on resources, increasing crime rates, and even contributing to the drug crisis.
Like Representative Onder, he shared a really harrowing story from his district in Missouri.
Yeah.
Where two women were assaulted by an undocumented immigrant.
Oh, wow.
And he argued that this tragic event was a direct result of what he called open border policies. And he used it as evidence for the need for stronger enforcement.
And that concern about the link between immigration and crime, I mean, it was echoed by other representatives too.
It was. They often pointed to statistics showing a rise in drug overdoses, particularly from fentanyl.
Right.
Which they attributed to insufficient border security.
It's a complex issue, for sure.
It is, and somewhat even further, using really strong language to characterize the situation at the border.
Really?
Yeah, like Representative Wyde, he claimed that the Biden administration had invited an invasion, and that President Trump's return to office was already making a difference in securing the border.
So these speeches, they provide valuable insight into one side of this very complex debate.
Right.
But it's important to remember that there's another perspective, right? One that calls for a more compassionate and nuanced approach to immigration.
Exactly. And you see that reflected in the speeches of representatives who advocate for a pathway to citizenship, who highlight the contributions of immigrants to our economy and culture,
right? And
who express concern about the impact of harsh enforcement on families and communities.
Yeah.
Like Representative Espaillat, he spoke very passionately about the need to protect what he called sensitive locations, like schools and places of worship from immigration raids.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he argued that these raids create a climate of fear and distrust.
Yeah.
And it makes it harder for immigrants to access essential services and to integrate into society. And Representative Bonamici in her discussion of the HALT Fentanyl Act, she brought up the concern that the bill's emphasis on criminalization, that it could disproportionately harm marginalized communities,
right,
including immigrant communities,
right.
And she called for a more holistic approach.
Yeah.
One that addresses the root causes of the drug crisis while respecting the rights and dignity of all individuals.
Yeah, so you have these two contrasting viewpoints,
right?
Both rooted in deeply held beliefs and concerns. One side, emphasizing security and control, the other emphasizing compassion and the need for a more humane system.
Right.
And this tension, it's something that you see play out again and again in the immigration debate.
You do, and it raises those fundamental questions that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are our obligations to those who are seeking a better life? How do we balance security concerns with humanitarian values?
Yep.
And what kind of immigration system do we want to create as a nation?
Big questions.
They are, and there are no easy answers. But by understanding the complexities of the debate, by listening to the different perspectives, and by engaging in thoughtful dialogue, I think we can move towards a more informed and humane approach to immigration.
I think so too. Now, another theme that we see running through the Congressional Record is the importance of history and how it shapes our present.
Right.
It's a reminder that these policy debates, they're not happening in a vacuum.
Yeah, they're not.
They're part of a larger story, this continuum of ideas and struggles that stretches back, generations.
It's true. We saw that in Representative Presley's speech on the Department of Education.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was. She didn't just talk about the department's current role. She traced its roots back to the Civil Rights Act, reminding everyone that the fight for educational equality is inextricably linked to the struggle for racial justice.
It's all connected.
It is. It was a potent reminder that policy decisions aren't just about abstract principles.
Yeah.
They carry with them the weight of history, the legacy of past injustices, and the hopes and aspirations of those who fought for a more equitable society. It's a lens through which we can better understand the motivations and the stakes involved in these debates.
Absolutely. And sometimes the Congressional Record gives us a glimpse into those personal journeys.
Yeah.
Those individual stories that bring the human cost of policy decisions into sharp focus.
You're thinking of Representative Schulten's, his tribute to Captain Miguel Justin Nava?
Yes.
The Marine pilot from Michigan who died in that helicopter accident.
That was incredibly moving.
It was. He spoke about Captain Nava's dedication to service, his love for his community, and the just devastating loss felt by his family and friends. It was a reminder that behind every policy decision, every budget cut, every military deployment, there are real people whose lives are on the line.
It's easy to forget that sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a powerful antidote to the tendency to see these issues as abstract or theoretical. It forces you to confront the human consequences of the choices made in Washington.
Right.
And it reminds us of the importance of empathy and compassion in shaping those choices.
Well said. Now, speaking of innovation in the future, the Congressional Record also gives you a window into the emerging technologies that are shaping our world, and perhaps none is more transformative than artificial intelligence.
AI. It seems like it's everywhere these days,
Yeah.
from self-driving cars to personalized medicine to well, even helping us decipher these very congressional records.
It's true, and its potential is both exciting and frankly a bit daunting.
Yeah.
You see that reflected in Representative Khanna's speech about the future of AI.
Oh yeah. He painted a picture of a world where AI could solve some of humanity's most pressing challenges. From curing diseases to combating climate change.
Amazing.
But he also cautioned that this rapid advancement, it raises these profound ethical and societal questions.
It does.
His central message was that we can't just sit back and let technology dictate our future. We need to be, actively engaged in shaping its development and ensuring that it's used for good.
Absolutely.
He even went as far as comparing AI to other groundbreaking inventions like electricity and fire, arguing that its impact could be just as profound for better or for worse.
And this really gets to the heart of why understanding these technological advancements is so important for you, for me, for everyone. They're not just abstract concepts.
Yeah.
They're forces that are actively shaping our lives, our work, and our future.
Our future.
And the more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to participate in the conversations about how we how we harness these technologies for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah, so we've talked about AI's its potential to solve problems.
Hmm.
But there's another side to this coin, right?
Right. Right. What about the risks?
Exactly. What about the concerns about job displacement, algorithmic bias,
Hmm.
or even the possibility of AI being used for malicious purposes?
Those are all valid concerns, and you see them reflected in the congressional record too.
You do.
Representatives Bonamici, Pocan, and Edwards, for example, they've all expressed concerns about the lack of oversight and regulation in the development of AI.
Right.
They argue that we need to proceed cautiously, making sure that we have the right, safeguards in place to mitigate potential harms.
Yeah, they've even raised the alarm about attempts to stifle scientific research
Hmm.
and silence dissenting voices,
Really
particularly in fields like climate change.
interesting.
And they see this as a dangerous trend,
Yeah.
undermining the integrity of science and hindering our ability to address these critical challenges.
And it raises those fundamental questions about the role of government in a tech-driven world, right? Like
Yeah.
how do we balance innovation with responsibility? How do we ensure that technological advancements benefit society as a whole rather than just, a select few? And how do we protect our democratic values in the face of rapidly evolving technologies that can be used to manipulate information, to influence public opinion, and even to erode privacy?
Big questions.
Big questions.
Yeah.
No easy answers.
No, but by understanding the different perspectives, by engaging in informed debate, and by demanding transparency and accountability from our leaders, I think we can help shape a future where technology serves humanity
I hope so.
rather than to the other way around.
Now, one of the most fundamental debates we see in the congressional record is the question of how we fund education in this country.
Right.
It's a debate that often, pits traditional public schools against charter schools,
Mhm.
with each side, arguing for their preferred approach.
And at the heart of that debate is the issue of choice.
Yeah.
Should parents have the right to choose where their children go to school? And if so, how do we ensure that all children have access to quality education, regardless of their zip code or socioeconomic background?
Such an important question.
It is.
Representative Tiffany, for example, he's a strong advocate for charter schools.
Mm-hmm.
He argues that they offer a more flexible and innovative approach to education,
Okay.
providing parents with greater choice and empowering educators to tailor their teaching to the needs of their students.
So more customized, more personalized.
Yeah, he believes that expanding successful charter schools, especially in underserved communities, is a high impact way to improve educational outcomes
Mm-hmm.
and give all children a chance to succeed.
But of course, there are counter arguments to that.
Of course, there are.
Critics of charter schools, they often worry about accountability
Mm-hmm.
and transparency. They argue that some charter schools they lack sufficient oversight, and they may not be serving the best interests of their students.
Hmm.
They also express concern about the potential for charter schools to exacerbate segregation
Yeah.
and inequality within the education system.
So you see, this is not just a debate about funding models or administrative structure.
No, it's not.
It's a debate about fundamental values.
Right.
It's about how we define, quality education, how we measure success,
Mm.
and what role we believe the government should play in ensuring that all children have access to the opportunities they deserve.
A big one. And it's a reminder that the decisions made in Washington, they have a direct impact on your local community.
They do.
They influence the quality of schools in your neighborhood, the resources available to your children,
Mm-hmm.
and the opportunities they'll have to succeed in life.
So as you delve into these debates, think about the implications for your own community. What kind of education system do you want to see? What are your priorities?
Right.
And how can you engage in the conversation to make sure that those priorities are reflected in the decisions made by your elected officials?
It's a good point. Now, amidst all the high stakes policy debates and the political maneuvering, The Congressional Record also captures those moments of personal recognition and celebration that remind us of the good that's happening in communities across the country.
She does.
Like Representative Barras, his congratulations to the Rio Americano High School AM Jazz Band for their success at a national competition.
Oh, that's great.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a reminder that Congress isn't just about passing laws and arguing over budgets. It's also about, acknowledging the achievements of young people and fostering their passion for the arts.
It's important.
And Representative De La Cruz's his recognition of Dr. Gonzalez, a renowned cardiologist, for his groundbreaking work in medicine.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it highlighted the importance of supporting scientific innovation and recognizing those who are pushing the boundaries of human knowledge.
It's inspiring.
It is. These moments, they may be brief, but they really shine a light on the creativity, the dedication, and the spirit of service that make our country thrive.
They do.
They remind us that even amidst the challenges we face, there are countless individuals working to make a positive impact on their communities and the world.
It's true. And sometimes it's the simple act of recognizing those individuals, of acknowledging their contributions that can inspire others to follow their lead.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that leadership isn't just about holding a position of power. It's about using that power to amplify the voices of those who are making a difference and to create a more just and equitable society.
It is. And speaking of social justice, one issue that consistently surfaces in the Congressional Record is the fight for economic equality.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's a debate that touches on everything from wages and taxes to healthcare and housing.
Right.
With each side offering their vision of how to create a more just and equitable society.
It's a complex issue.
It is. And you see this clearly in Representative McIver's, her introduction of the SMAP Benefits Fairness Act.
Oh, yeah.
Her speech really brought to light the struggles faced by so many Americans who are struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Especially in the face of rising housing costs.
It's a real problem.
It is. She argued that the current housing cap on SNAP benefits is unfair. And it makes it harder for working families to afford basic necessities.
She made a very compelling case for increasing that cap, arguing that it would not only provide, much needed relief to struggling families, but it would also stimulate the economy. Right. By putting more money in the hands of those who are most likely to spend it.
It makes sense.
It does. And her speech was a reminder that the decisions made in Congress, they have real world consequences.
They do.
They can mean the difference between a family having enough food to eat or going hungry.
That's huge.
It is. They can mean the difference between a child having access to health care or going without.
Yeah.
And they can even mean the difference between someone having a roof over their head or being forced into homelessness.
It's a lot of responsibility. It is. These are the stakes involved in these policy debates, and by understanding the human impact, by listening to the voices of those who are most affected, and by engaging in thoughtful dialogue, I think we can work together to create a more just and compassionate society for everyone.
I agree. It's easy to get lost in all the details,
Yeah, the policy details, the partisan battles. It can feel, like you said, a never-ending tug of war.
Yeah. And then you come across a story, a moment that reminds you what it's all about.
The human side of it all.
Yeah, exactly. Those glimpses of compassion, courage, real public service.
Like Representative Dean Arp rescuing that woman from the burning mobile home.
Yeah.
It really shows that sense of duty that goes beyond politics.
And the tributes. Those tributes to everyday heroes, they always stand out. Like Representative Connolly recognizing Mark Pemberton.
The Navy veteran.
Yeah, who rescued that family from a fire. It reminds you that courage, selflessness, it can be found anywhere.
It's true. Even amidst all the noise, there are people out there just quietly making a difference in their communities.
These stories, they bring it home.
They do. They remind us that those decisions made in Washington, they have a ripple effect.
On individuals, on families across the nation, and sometimes it's a single speech that just captures the whole challenge of our time.
Like Representative Khanna's warning about what he called an economic aristocracy.
That was powerful. His comparison to the Gilded Age, his call for economic equality, opportunity.
A debate that's been going on forever, but feels more relevant now than ever.
It does. And it begs the question, how do we create an economy that works for everyone, not just a select few?
It's a challenge that demands we look beyond those partisan divides, find solutions that benefit all Americans.
And that's really what this deep dive into the congressional record has been about.
It's not just understanding policy, the political maneuvering.
No, it's about you, the power you have as a citizen to engage to shape the future.
The congressional record, it gives you that front row seat to the debates that are shaping our world.
It lets you hear the different sides, understand the arguments, form your own opinions.
And most importantly, it empowers you to make your voice heard.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, here are a few key takeaways. First, stay informed.
Right, the congressional record, it's a valuable resource.
Even if it can be a little intimidating, just take some time, read through it, even a few pages a day. Follow the issues you care about most.
And don't be afraid to reach out to your elected officials.
Let them know what you think. Write to them, call them, visit their office. They represent you.
And remember, democracy, it's not a spectator sport. We all need to actively participate.
Get involved in your community, volunteer, and make your voice heard.
The congressional record, it's a testament to the power of ideas. It shows us the importance of debate, the enduring spirit of our democracy.
And it reminds us that we, the people, have the power to shape our own destiny.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the congressional record. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay informed.